This is the Bodega Coolers. Their model number is the TW75, but it actually holds 76 quarts, and it does it through 2 zones as well. You can set both zones for the same temp, from down to as low as 4 degrees or -4 Fahrenheit up to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So it can be somewhat of a warmer as well. And you can set that in 2 different zones, or you can obviously set them the same. So it can bring it down below freezing at -4, and again go up to 68. And these are separated by an insulated panel, so you don't have to worry about, you know, crossing in from one to another. You can have one as your freezer, one as your fridge, and very easy to control, including an app. Now, as for the size, the outer dimensions of this cooler with the handles, you're looking at right about 34 inches wide and about 18.5 inches tall. And thickness on this going to be right at the 19.5 inches. And we have nice locking tabs there on the cooler lid. So it comes down and automatically latches. So you can't just pull up on this. And that's going to go on either side as well. So nice firm spring there, but also easily closes when coming down. Now, another cool thing about these lids is the fact if you have this set up one way in your RV or on your campsite or whatever, and it just makes more sense to flip this lid around, very easy to do so. Stand this up, pull out one side, flip this around, and now you've got one closing one way, one closing the other, or I could flip this one around as well. So very easy to flip these from side to side to set this up the way you want it for looking in, grabbing food, grabbing drinks, whatever. Now let's take a look at these compartments. And by the way, another cool thing about the lids is they do lean all the way up and actually rest in place with them wide open. They also have a rubber gasket around here to seal also. Now you'll see we also get a wire rack in both the left side and the right side, so you can easily remove your food, put it all down in place, you know, load up your baskets, then load up your cooler. But obviously you don't have to run those baskets. But the internal dimensions on this, by the way, about 15 inches deep on both sides, or 15 inches deep from front to back. Depth from bottom to top is just over 14 inches. And on the deep spot here, again, just over 14 inches there, and just right at 6 inches on the shallow side. Now below this is where your compressor, evaporator coil, all that is actually in condensing coil as well, is hiding. So obviously they do need a spot for that. So with a total of 76 quarts, it's broken down into 49 quarts on the left side and 27 quarts on the right side. Also, we have integrated LED lights right here in the sides of the panels, which will turn on when we turn the unit on. We'll see that here in just one moment. And also you'll notice individual plugs with O-rings on the right side and the left side to drain any fluids out. Now this cooler will run off of 12 volts, 24 volts, 110 or 120 volts with your conventional plug-in. Also run off of a solar panel. It has a solar panel input, and we'll show you that here in a moment. I'm just going to power this on. So hit the power button here. Now right now it's really hard to read these numbers right here in the daylight. With my naked eye, I can see that, but with the glare off of this on the camera, really hard to pick up. But let me show you another way we can actually see this. So right here on my phone, I have an app. It tells me both the left compartment and the right compartment are at 88 degrees. I've got the temp set at 30 for the left-hand side and 0 for the right-hand side. So let's shut these lids and see if we can't get that pulling down. So again, you can go to the cooler and actually actuate your left and right hand temperatures, as well as set the settings to either to run in max mode or eco mode, or you can do it right here from the app as well. So you can see I've got max mode. I can go into eco mode. I'm going to go back to max, and then I can select Fahrenheit or Celsius, have it set to Fahrenheit, and then I can actually switch on off the left and right hand side as well. Go back to my home page here, and I can lock this down if I want to. It also tells me the voltage coming in is 13.8 volts. You can also go into battery protect mode, and that's so that when you have it plugged into your vehicle, that you can actually set it to either be ultra sensitive or higher sensitive, just medium or low, and that's going to protect your battery. So if it drops down below a certain voltage, it'll actually shut the unit off, not drawing down your battery so you can't start your vehicle. So right here are our power input ports. You see there's a solar input, and this is going to be your 12 and 24 volt input. Now, since I'm running it off of 120 volts right now, it has an adapter that comes with it, but you can also plug this directly into like a auxiliary port or cigarette lighter style 12 volt or 24 volt, and it will work just fine. Also, right here, if you open up this cover, you can purchase a battery that runs this as well. I would recommend when you do that, that you use some electricity, some outsourced electricity to get the cooler down to temp, especially if you've got your stuff in there. Then utilize the battery to keep it at temp for those few hours you're going to be away or something like that. Now, I do want to mention these grills right here and these ports right here. This is where your compressor, as well as your coils and everything, is going to reside, your electronics and all of that. But still, right now it's running, the cooler's like 88 degrees. It's trying to pull that down. It's running in max mode. The dB on this is like 45 decibels. That's lower than a typical conversation. And I'm telling you right now, I can barely hear the fans running. And that's the highest it's going to run. Because if you have it in eco mode, it will kind of ramp down and you won't hear it even this loud. But you're probably not even picking it up on camera right now. In fact, there's another port in the back. So very quiet operation on this cooler. Also integrated on either side are these handles here. They're not spring loaded at all, but they do kind of fall down to the bottom. But easy carry handles there that are going to be there when you need to carry it. There's also an integrated bottle opener here on the right-hand side if you're facing the cooler. Now, rather than running the cooler off of our car battery right now, we do have it hooked up to our DJI power supply running this, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, as I mentioned, we're not going to run down our battery. Number two, we can actually see the amp draw or the wattage that it's pulling out. So again, the cooler's running in max mode, so kind of the hardest it's going to run, and it's pulling 122 to 125 watts. If you look at that in terms at 120 volts, that's only 1 amp draw. So you're looking at a single amp on 120 volts and probably a few amps at 12 volts. But again, not pulling a lot of wattage to actually run this cooler. And really, this is probably in the most inefficient state because we're converting DC power to AC and then back to DC. So that's the inverter's running on this and then pumping it through here, and then we're again transitioning back to DC for the cooler. So if you go straight DC from the cooler, you're going to get your most optimal performance. So if you really want to put this into perspective, and we've got the cooler running now, as far as the size of this, you can put 102 12-ounce cans in this complete cooler. So I think that's plenty enough for a long weekend. So we've been running less than 10 minutes, right at 9 minutes. And the left-hand side is at 64 degrees and the right-hand side is still at 88. I'm assuming it's going to pull down the left and then go over and start pulling down the right. But again, we pulled it 24 degrees in just a matter of 10 minutes, and we'll see how much faster it gets or slower. Also very handy right here on the cooler, we have a USB type A port out, so you can charge devices right there if you need to. So it's integrated right there into the control panel. So while we're waiting for this to pull down to get a little colder, let's talk about pricing and warranty. Pricing on this is going to be about $600. You can purchase this on Amazon. Warranty, you're going to get a 5-year warranty on the compressor, and with everything else, you're going to get a 1-year warranty on it and a 90-day return window. So we brought the BodegaCooler back inside the shop, and I think we had it unplugged for about a solid 45 seconds or maybe a minute. So forgive me on that if I had it not running for a minute. Otherwise, this thing's running great. It's been running just over an hour now, and it's pulled down to 29 degrees on one side, 32 degrees on the other side. But let's take a look at how we got there and looking at our app here. So basically, we started this at 12:45 at 88 degrees and 88 degrees. At 12:55, it was down to 64 and 88. At 1 o'clock, at 60 degrees and 76 degrees. So you're looking at 15 minutes, it's already pulling down 28 degrees on one side and over 14 degrees on the other. And then let's go to from 1 o'clock to 1:15, it was 47 and 54. At 1:30, it was 34 and 49. And then at 1:45, at running for an hour, we were down to 26 and 40. Now, the interesting thing was somehow I must have kind of slid my thumb over or something, but this got set to, instead of 30, down to -4. I don't know if I did that from the start or whatever, but I meant to have this at 30 and 0. I just kind of wanted an idea of how do we pull this down to barely freezing, that down to a solid freeze at 0. But anyway, we're not quite there yet. We are at 30 on the left-hand side. Just the right-hand side, we're just down to, well, there you go. We're down at 30 degrees on both sides, and you can see it's 153 right there as to my phone. So this thing pulls down rather quickly. I would highly recommend, again, if you're going to use this, pull it down before you get started. And then before you go camping or out for the day, whatever, go ahead and let it pull down all those things while you have it plugged in somewhere. And then you can plug it into your car or plug it into your power supply, and it's going to keep these things cool and run much more efficiently. You can see we're down to 30 and 30, and now we've gone from pulling 125 watts to about 85 watts now is where we're pulling as far as the wattage to run this. And again, that's running dual zones and keeping this down below freezing. So you can see a little closer look here at our power supply, 84 watts output. And again, we're doing it the inefficient way from going from DC to AC and back down to DC, at least inverting this twice. So more efficiently, if we were going directly just AC to this, we would be pulling even less power. Hey, be sure to check this out. We'll have a link in the description. As we mentioned, you can purchase this on Amazon. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, X, or Twitter, as well as TikTok. And if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And by all means, if you hated our video, then give us a thumbs down. But let us know in the comments why. Have a great day and keep smiling.